Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds Gamer. Now you're probably wondering, with me being a Leeds United fan, why the hell am I doing a video about Tottenham Hotspur? Well, the reason I'm doing it is that I think that it's Spurs that will get relegated. They're not 18th at the moment, but I think there's quite a few mitigating factors that go in favour of Tottenham Hotspur being relegated to the Championship this season. So I'm going to go into some detail why. And the other side of it is that, while my club Leeds United are currently 15th place on 31 points, I don't think Leeds are completely out of the relegation picture yet. I would like to see Leeds get those 3 important wins. I don't care who those wins come against, but get those 3 wins, get up to 40 points, then I say that Leeds will be safe this season. So, with this being said, the obvious prediction here is that West Ham and Nottingham Forest will stay up, as will Leeds. I think that Brighton, Crystal Palace, Sunderland, Newcastle, Fulham, Everton, Bournemouth, they could all go on terrible runs for the rest of the season, lose every single game and not get relegated. Well, that's maybe a little extreme, but they could go on a terrible run of form where they might only get maybe another win and another draw or whatever and lose a lot of other games. Hello, Windy. So, I really believe that the battle to avoid 18th is between Tottenham Hotspur, Nottingham Forest and West Ham United. And I truly believe that Leeds will stay up this season because, unlike all the teams below them where it's a very toxic environment and there's no confidence, nobody's working together as a team, as a unit, I think that I think the Leeds are, and that's why they'll stay up. Now, just briefly touching on it before I go on to the main topic of the conversation here, West Ham have picked up on form. Nottingham Forest form is alright, and by and large look decent in Europe as well. So they've got avenues that they can kind of grab confidence from. And at the moment, Tottenham Hotspur, they're not playing with any confidence. The form's rubbish. They've got an injury list as long as a flipping leg. So let's have a deeper dive into it. And I'll give you the reason as to why I think Tottenham Hotspur will be relegated from the Premier League this season. So, starting with the Premier League table as things currently stand. Tottenham have played 27 games out of the 38. They've got 11 games remaining. They've won 7, drawn 8, lost 12. So the first indicator there is that they've lost more games than they've won or drawn. This is never ever a good sign for a team trying to avoid relegation. Then you look at the goal difference. Scored 37 goals. Scoring 37 in 27, that's not a problem. So they don't have a problem scoring goals. They have a problem conceding them. Because conceding 41 goals in 27 games is not the kind of concession that you want when you're battling to avoid relegation. Now, the one little flip side of all of that is that it's only a -4 goal difference, which compared to the teams around them is the best of the bunch. They're currently on 29 points. 29 points is not going to keep you up. I think that West Ham and Nottingham Forest will both get more than 29 points this season. They will get over 30 at least. Both of them, I think. How much more than 30, I don't know. But I think they will both get more than what Tottenham currently have. Then, as I say, look at the form, and we'll delve into the form in a wider detail than just the last 5. But they could only muster a draw away at Burnley. A draw against Manchester City, there's no disgrace in that. That's a poor draw. That's a good draw. Even though the scores are identical. They've had losses against Manure, which, that's with the way that they're playing this season, or with the results that they're getting at least, again, you could argue there's not much disgrace in that. They lost at home 2-1 against Newcastle. Now, Newcastle are not having an amazing season. But again, still, when you look at their squad, it's still a very strong squad. And then they get walloped by Arsenal. Now, again, a lot of people have been very critical about Tottenham's performance against Arsenal. And there's no doubt that if you're going to lose 4-1 against someone, chances are you were pretty bad. I haven't seen the highlights. But you're against your local rivals, or at least one of them. And you've just been walloped. Shows to me a lack of confidence. There's a lack of quality there, but I think that part of it is down to a lack of confidence as well. They have just brought in a new temporary manager in Igor Tudor as well. So, that's how it looks in terms of the Premier League table. It's not good reading for Tottenham. The fact that 18th place are only 4 points behind them, and you look at that difference in the immediate form. 2 draws and 3 losses against 2 wins, 2 draws and 1 loss. That's a pretty big difference from a short-term perspective. And let's just have a look at who West Ham got their points against. They beat Sunderland at home. Sunderland's away form is poor this season anyway. Only narrowly lost to Chelsea, another London derby. They beat Burnley. You'd expect them to beat Burnley. Draw against Manure, good draw. Draw against Bournemouth, not too bad. Bournemouth do draw a lot of games this season. So, in terms of Forest, let's have a quick look at their form. Beat Brentford, which is a pretty decent result, when you see that Brentford are comfortably in the top half. Drew against Palace. That's not great in the scheme of things, but back then Palace was still looking over their shoulder. I don't think they are now. I think Palace probably will be okay. Just about. But it's not right good there either. Things are quite toxic at Palace right now as well. Lost 3-1 against my club Leeds. And Leeds were very good that day. Leeds made Forest look really, really bad. And by the looks of it, they've not recovered from it. They could only draw against Wolves. That's a rotten draw. And then they only narrowly lost against Liverpool. I think that was a very late goal from Liverpool as well, wasn't it? And Liverpool are currently 6th. So you could say that Forest might have been a little unlucky there. So, Tottenham. Let's delve into it. This is the reason that I'm making this video. So, let's firstly have a look at the fixtures as a whole. And let's go from the start of 2026. So we're going to go back a little bit here, because I think this form dates back quite badly. So the final game of 2025, they beat Palace. So that was a pretty good win, because obviously Palace was still kind of down in the dumps at that time. So going into 2026, drew against Brentford, drew against Sunderland, lost to Bournemouth, lost to Villa, lost to West Ham. That's a bad loss, isn't it? In the scheme of things of where the teams are. And again, it's a London derby as well. Won in Europe. Very good win to get 2-0 against Dortmund there. Drew to Burnley. That's a bad draw. Again, won in Europe. Beating Frankfurt. Drew against Man City. That's not again, as I say, that's not a terrible result in the scheme of things. That's a decent draw. That's a good draw. So, their only wins have come in Europe. They haven't won a game in 2026. That is scathing. That is relegation form. And there's nobody that could argue against that. We're nearly 2 months done. And they haven't won even one game in 2026. And they haven't even backed it up with a lot of draws, kind of like what Leeds have done. They've lost a handful of these games. As we've seen there previously. Lost to Manure, lost against Newcastle, and got thumped by local rivals Arsenal. So, let's have a look at the fixtures coming up. London derby against Fulham. London derby against Crystal Palace. I don't see Tottenham winning either of those two. Tough game against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. I mean that's no easy game. But again, the Champions League ain't their priority. Their priority is to stay in the Premier League, because the financial implications of getting relegated. You only have to look at clubs like Leeds, Aston Villa, Newcastle, West Ham. All 4 of those have got good previous Premier League pedigree. But, it scuppered them financially to go down to Championship. And with the money being even more now than what it was back then, the amount of money that it must cost Tottenham to run that huge stadium, for example, and for the wages that they must pay the players, it'll cripple them. It'll cripple them. I'm certain of it. Away to Liverpool. That's not easy. The reverse fixture against Atletico. You see, I don't think that with their injury list, I don't think that they've got the players to cope with all of these games. This is the other problem. This match is massive for Tottenham. At home against Nottingham Forest, they have to win that game, because it's against a relegation rival. Now, if there was any game that I could see Tottenham possibly getting a win on, it might be that. It might be that. What I will do is I will check the difference in home and away form for Tottenham. I'll go back onto the table shortly. Away at Sunderland. Now, Sunderland's home form's been very good. I think they've only lost 1 all season. If it was away, you could argue that Tottenham could possibly beat Sunderland. But at Stadium of Light, they've been quite good. And is that the final game of the season, or is there one more? Oh no, there's a couple more. Sorry, my mistake. There's quite a few more. My apologies. Oh my god, there's a lot more. Oh wow. Sorry, my apologies. Right, okay. Against Brighton. Now Brighton, I think, are probably going to be safe, but they're not completely out of it. Away at Wolves is crucial. Wolves are already done. Tottenham have to beat Wolves, and they possibly could. Away at Villa, not a chance. Villa are still vying to maintain the position of qualifying for the Champions League for next season. Villa Park, I don't see Tottenham getting anything from that. Then they're at home against my team Leeds. Now Leeds' away form this season has been rubbish, but we are starting to perform a little better. We've just recently taken draws against Aston Villa at Villa Park, against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So I think Leeds owe Tottenham one, because the win that Tottenham got at Ellen Road was I don't think there was much in it, quite frankly. So that's not a given for Tottenham whatsoever. Another London derby away at Chelsea. I don't think they get anything from that. I don't think Tottenham are going to get anything in any of the London derbies. I don't think the players are up for it. I don't think that the squad harmony is good enough to compete in London derbies. So yeah, they ain't getting up from Chelsea. At home against Everton. Everton are kind of mid-table. They haven't really got out to play for. So maybe Tottenham catch Everton on the sly on the last day of the season, but it's depends where all the teams are with one game to go, doesn't it? So with all of this, if we just backtrack and just say, right, where are Tottenham getting wins from, or matches that they have to win, right? I don't think they get wins in either of these two. I don't think they're beating Liverpool, so they can beat Forest. Stadium of Light, I don't think they beat Sunderland, right? So I've got them down for one win currently. Brighton. At a squeeze, they might beat. They could possibly beat Brighton. They sure as hell can beat Wolves, but have to, they can't get complacent. They ain't getting out from Villa. I don't think they beat Leeds. I think that might end up a draw. They're getting out from Chelsea, and I think they might draw against Everton. So that would mean that Tottenham would only get three more wins this season. Alright? Now if this is the case, let's just go back to the Premier League table briefly. 3 more wins. So that's another 9 points. That would get them 38. And I think it's going to take 40 points to stay up. Now, 2 of those wins, I think, are very doable. The other one, not too sure. So, if they only get 2 wins, which gives them 6 points, would put them on 35. 35 surely isn't going to be enough to stay up, is it? Can't be. Not with the standard of the teams this season. But then again, West Ham would still need to get 10 points out of the remaining 11 games. It's quite a bit to ask. But still, as I say, Tottenham haven't won a game in 2026. I'm being quite generous to say that they could actually get a couple of wins here. So let's have a look at the home and away form, which I think gives us an option here. Right, so Tottenham's home form. That is a big outlier. Tottenham are one of the worst teams in the division at home. They're the joint second worst. Ugh. Oh, that's rotten. That's really bad. Away. Right, so Tottenham's points have been coming away from home with quite a respectable away record there. 13 games played, 5 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. 20 scored, still quite a bit conceded. 19 conceded, so they've got a +1 goal difference and 19 points on the board away from home. Just going back to that home form again, because this is crucial now, because I didn't know about this. They've only managed 2 wins at home all season. Wow. Wow. That's massive. That's massive. 2 wins, 4 draws, and 8 home losses. Scored 17, conceded 22 goals at home, with a -5 goal difference and a paltry 10 points scored at home. Wow. That is why they are where they are from a home form point of view. That is dreadful. So let's just quickly go back to Tottenham's fixtures again. Knowing that their home form is crap, I'm just going to breeze through this now. So in terms of what they've got remaining. So I don't see them getting anything against Palace without home form. The away form, but it's a London derby, and as I said, I don't think they get out from the London derbies. Now, all of a sudden, they might be able to get something at Liverpool, possibly. Now that I've seen that form. But they're at home against Forest. Now, if they were away against Forest, then looking at that form, you'd say, right, okay, Tottenham could get a pretty solid win there. At home? And that was one of the ones that I put them down for a win earlier on. Maybe I was wrong. I'd have to scrap that now. And then at home to Brighton, that's not, and that was another one of the ones I said that they'd probably win. I'm not so certain now. Away at Wolves, I think they'll demolish Wolves. That's not an issue. And maybe they could give Villa a game, knowing that the away form ain't that bad. But at home against Leeds, as I say, I know Leeds' away form is rubbish, but the performances over the last handful of away games has been a lot more solid. Leeds could easily get a draw there. Leeds could possibly even beat Tottenham. I wouldn't put it past them. They could give Chelsea a game with it being away, but again, it's a London derby, which makes me think otherwise. And then at home to Everton, I think so. Knowing that home form now, the only thing going in Tottenham's favour on that last day of the season is that Everton ain't gonna have out to play for, unless Everton go on a major run of form and just start pushing towards European competition. But other than that, that's the only thing going in Tottenham's favour. Tottenham could get relegated on the final day at their home stadium. Wow. Could happen. Can't rule it out. So, let's just delve into their squad. Obviously things haven't gone that great for Igor Tudor, but he's only been there 1 match. So, we can't really judge Tudor on that. Their most experienced player, who's been there ages, Ben Davies, he's long-term injured. They're missing that experience. I saw on a Talksport video that they were having to play Polinia, who's a midfielder, in defence. That's a big problem. That's a big problem. Bissouma, I don't think he's as good as he was once rated. He was once rated as being a pretty good player. This guy, I think he is dreadful. I do not rate Vicario at all. I think he's one of the worst goalkeepers in the division. You can't rely on this guy when you're in a relegation battle. Not for me. I wouldn't have him at Leeds. I think he's terrible. Maddison, another player that could possibly have been of some use to Tottenham. Unavailable. Injured. Richarlison, I think he's overrated. I really think he's overrated. I don't think he's that good. He's got the whole tag of being Brazilian and all the rest of it. I don't think he's that great. Not a bad player, but I think he's average. Bentancur, he's been decent for them in the past. He's out. Solanke, probably the most recognised striker they've got at the moment, but easy to miss. Romero, he's their bloody captain, but he's got more red cards than bloody King Charles has got a red carpet. You know what I mean? He's terrible. He's a hothead. I don't care that he's won bloody international trophies with Argentina. It's quite doable when you've got players like Messi scoring goals and things. Romero's not the calm head that you want in that defence to keep you up against relegation. Danso, injured, unavailable. Moani, now he just got himself a goal, didn't he? He got the goal against Arsenal, but apparently that was down to a mistake by Arsenal. I don't really know anything about that guy. Somebody called Brandon Austin, who apparently is 27-year-old. I've never heard of him. I don't know who he is at all. I mean, he's obviously the backup goalkeeper. He's only rated at 620k. I will just see if we can get some history on this guy. Did he come through Tottenham's youth ranks? I don't know whether this has his previous clubs. I don't know. Just seeing if I can see. I'm just seeing if I can see any kind of history on this guy, because he's not a kid. FotMob doesn't really tell me anything, but I don't know who he is. That's some merch, says he obviously don't play. Oh, are these the previous club that he's played at? It looks like he has come through Tottenham's youth ranks. He was at Tottenham's under-23s back in 2017. I'm assuming that was a loan at Viborg. He's played it in Orlando City. Yes, it looks like he's actually come through Tottenham's youth ranks, but he's one of these that's just become a serial second choice player. Interesting. Didn't know. Never heard of the guy. I mean, surely it'd be worth having a go instead of flipping Vicario. At least, I mean, if he's come through Tottenham's youth ranks, he's going to have the club at heart, isn't he? Porro, unavailable. Gallagher, they've just brought him in, haven't they? Decent player. I think he's overhyped, personally. But he's decent. Kulusevski. Now, he looked decent in a past life, but he is currently unavailable. Kudus, signed from West Ham. And Kudus looked like one of their better players when Tottenham played against Leeds earlier in the season. Unavailable. Spence had a very brief loan spell at Leeds, but then they found out that he's a bad apple. A bad egg. So he's got a bloody attitude problem. And realistically, I can't believe he's still only 25, that's crazy. But, you know, is he going to have the right attitude to battle against relegation? I'm not so sure. Van der Ven. Right, this guy turned his back on Igor Tudor when Tudor was telling him to do something. This is your manager. This is your boss. This is the guy that's coaching you. And you ignore his instructions? Are you mad? Like, that is a massive attitude problem. And the worst part for Tottenham is he's one of their better centre-backs. But if he's going to spit the dummy out, waste of time, waste of space, get him sold. Get him sold in summer. Dragusin. I don't know anything about him personally, but from what I heard, he was a real weak link in that walloping against Arsenal. Sarr. Don't know anything about him. You know, is he any good? I mean, he's 23-year-old, so still relatively young. Udogie. Unavailable. Kinski, a backup goalkeeper. Simons, supposed to be one of the best young Dutch prospects around. And, you know, realistically, dirt average. At the moment. Could be a good player, you know, he is only 22. I've got to bear that in mind. But at the moment, is he the type of player you want in a relegation battle? I wouldn't say so. Odobert, former Burnley if I remember right. Ouch. Cruciate ligament, out for the season. And again, he's another one relatively young. I mean, all of these are relatively young, aren't they? Tell. He was another one against Leeds that, you know, bit like Simons, has got a little bit of ability, but he's still dirt average right now. He's not there yet, not by a long shot. Bergval, unavailable. Archie Gray, he is being played out of position. The kid is a midfielder. But because of all of this unavailability that he finds above him on this bloody list, they're having to play him in bloody defence. Well, no wonder he's making mistakes. Unbelievable. And then you're just talking about a bunch of other kids here. Yeah, so that to me is not a great squad. You know, they've not replaced Kane and Son, who were an absolute pair of goal machines. They've not replaced Lloris, who was an experienced goalkeeper. You know, goalkeeper and striker. Those are two of the most key positions on the entire pitch. You know? Tottenham are getting exactly what they deserve here right now. Nothing. That squad is not good enough. You know, for the ambitions that they have as a club, considering that they're one of the rich six, well, guess what? Money ain't keeping you up. Partially because you're not spending it wisely, for starters. So, yeah, I mean, you know, what chance have they got? I mean, let's just have a look at some statistics. I don't know what it'll say here. So their top scorers, Richarlison, with 7. And then after that, it's their 2 centre-backs. They've only got one player who's actually getting any goals for them. And it's not a massive number of goals. Because the other, the joint second top scorer is the 2 centre-backs. That's dreadful. Assists, Kudus. Well, it said he was injured a minute ago, didn't it? And then, so they're literally relying on Richarlison, who, as I said before, is he's an okay player. He's a decent player. He is not world class. He's not the standard that would be required to get in a Brazilian international team, in my opinion. They've stuck with Vicario for the entire season, and I think that's a massive problem. Porro, one of the highest rated in their squad for FOTMAP, unavailable. Bentancur, another one with one of the highest ratings, unavailable. Romero, unavailable due to suspension. Big problem because their best players are unavailable. You do that to any squad in the division. You take their best players away because of injury or suspension, you ain't going to find yourself in a Champions League qualification place in the league. You just aren't. You won't. Look at these stats here. Like, none of these are that great. But when you look at it all, it looks like Richarlison is So let's put it another way. If Richarlison becomes unavailable, for whatever reason, whether it be injury or suspension, they're definitely down. They're definitely down. Because the rest of the squad ain't good enough. They wouldn't be able to compensate for the absence of Richarlison. Not a chance. And as I've said before, I don't think Richarlison's that. I don't think he's that amazing. Porro, created chances. Look at that. Again, he's unavailable. Simons has created 6 big chances. The accurate passes per 90 is your 2 centre backs, probably because they're just passing it between themselves. This is bonkers. A lot of these players that are currently unavailable are coming up in the top 3 of a lot of these statistics. It's no bloody wonder that they're near bottom, is it? Because look at all that. The big chances that he's missed. Look who's top at pile. Richarlison. He's like the Brazilian Bamford. That's mad. That's absolutely bonkers. 2 of those. The dribblers. The players that are good with the ball at their feet. 2 of those are unavailable. It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. The one player that conceded a penalty, he's not even available. Oh god. Vicario's only mustered 7 clean sheets all season. It's not very good, is it? Not a great save percentage. Sorry, I can feel a sneeze coming on. I do apologise. Yeah, these stats are not great. Look at that. 2 reds for Romero, a red for Simons, 8 yellows for Romero, 6 for Polinia and Van de Ven. Again, your defensive players that are picking up all these yellows and all these reds. And when you look at it all just seems to have become extremely toxic. Now, Tottenham Hotspur, it's been mentioned on, I think it was another TalkSport video, they're a very well run business, but they are not a well run football team. There's a difference. You know, like in terms of being run as a football club, you know, you look at the finances and all the rest of it, yeah, that's great. But this isn't being reflected with the most important thing, which is to get results on the pitch. And that's where they are, folks. That's where they are. So, we've looked at form. Haven't won a game in 2026. We look at injuries. What was there, about 6, 7, 8 players unavailable? And half of those probably the players that, you know, half of them would probably get into the starting 11 if they were fit, at least. They'd probably all get into either the 11 or the subs bench, at the very least. Just about, I would think. They've got a goalkeeper who ain't good enough in Vicario. They're relying on players like Simons and Tell, who are still very young. They've got defenders who they can't rely on, because Romero gets sent off and gets a lot of yellow cards. Van de Ven don't even want to listen to his manager. They're playing Archie Gray out of position, and he's a kid. I'm telling you, Tottenham Hotspur are going to be relegated. And if they go down, I couldn't be happier for them. I think they're getting what they deserve. When you have got players like Kane and Son, and maybe to a slightly lesser extent Lloris, right? 3 of your key players, and have been for years, right? All 3 of those were at Tottenham for a very long time. As these players get older, and you know that when they get to around 30, or in Lloris's case his early 30s, or whatever age he was, mid-30s, whatever it was, you know that either these players are gonna decline ever so slightly, or they're gonna want to leave for a fresh challenge. When they get to their early 30s, they're going to want to move on, try something else, because Tottenham aren't serial winners. There's no winning mentality at this club. The proof is where they are right now. But the key aspect here is that 3 of their most influential players over let's say the last decade that they all played for Tottenham, in all that time, is the club not thinking, right, we need to get some backups that are going to literally be ready for when those 3 move away? And they haven't done it. They haven't done it. Vicario, he's not even as good as what Lloris was towards the end of his time at Tottenham, because towards the end of his time at Tottenham, Lloris wasn't that great. He'd lost all his reflexes. He was slow. He was just old, effectively, for a goalkeeper. So they brought in Vicario. Not good enough. Strikers. Solanke? Is he really the answer to replace Kane? Not in my opinion. Son. He leaves. Kind of the creative force slash second striker. Who did they bring in? I guess they brought in Kudus. That wasn't a bad replacement, but he's injured. So they're carrying a passenger. You know, they haven't adequately replaced the so-called star power that they used to have. And it shows. It showed last season when they finished 17th. And that losing mentality has crossed over into this season. This isn't something that's happened overnight for Tottenham. They were really poor last season. And they're pretty much as bad now. This is a toxic environment. It's an ownership that has not spent wisely in terms of the quality of player that they were supposed to bring in. They've brought in either average players, decent players, and in one or two cases, good players. But are they of a world-class goal-scoring record like Kane? No. Are they the creative spark that Son had, coupled along with some decent G&A? No. Do they have a reliable goalkeeper at the back that, that at one point had the captain's armband? Or was one of the club captains? No. If in effect all three of those were basically captain, vice captain, and third choice captain. This is what I'm saying. They're three most influential players over the last decade that they were all there, are not there now, and they haven't been replaced. It's that simple. You know, Leeds went through it when they lost Rafinha and Phillips in the same summer. Sold them both for a combined £100 million. And when those two left, you could see the difference. The difference it made was ridiculous. You do that to any squad. You do that to any squad and you will suffer. And if you don't replace them with players of an equal ability or better, then you're gonna be in the shit. It's that straightforward. So realistically, what do I think Tottenham finish on? I think I think Tottenham might nick a few draws, but I don't see where they're getting the wins from. I would literally say they might get one more win. They're not going to get 3 more wins and 2 more draws out of the remaining 11 games. Not a chance. So they're not hitting 40 points. I genuinely think they might... Oh, God. 1 more draw and 2 more wins maximum. That's all I think they're getting this season. As a maximum. As a minimum, they might lose all of their 11 remaining games. I won't put it past them. So, you know, this is the difficulty they've got. Their form's dire. They've got London derbies coming up. They've got matches against a couple of the teams in the bottom quarter of the division, or certainly bottom half, that are going to be crucial. And they've got a couple of games against some of the teams in the top half that I don't think they stand a bloody chance. They've got players that are out for either the rest of the season or the majority of the rest of the season, and they've brought in an interim manager who 1 or 2 of the players don't even want to listen to. So I think they're done. Anyway, this has been a very long video. Apologies for the length of it. But I think we've done a real deep dive into the problems that Tottenham have right now. And this is why I think they're going to get relegated. Tottenham Hotspur will be a championship team next season, in my opinion. So there we go. So I'll leave it there, folks. Hope you enjoyed that one. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do please give the video a like and a hype. Appreciate you watching. Well done if you got this far. And hope you have a good one. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.